Hello, everyone. We've got your Zoom update for this week. The theme of this week is Zoom training. We are going through training with a bunch of our congregant leadership over the following weeks and possibly couple of months. So I thought it would be important for the staff to know what our congregant leaders are learning so that they can emulate and use those same skills. So let's get started. So to start, let's follow along with this quote. Online meetings are here to stay. Post-pandemic, we'll continue to have options to work at home because it's cost effective. We'll continue to have online church committee meetings because attendance is up. We'll continue to meet as friends on Zoom because some are unable to drive, travel, or be away from home. So we might as well get it right. So that's really in the spirit of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get it right. We're trying to constantly be better at our commitment to radical hospitality. The hope of these Zoom trainings, the purpose is to use Zoom technology to create a virtual space for spiritual growth. How are we going to do that? So our virtual space for spiritual growth starts with setting the stage for active attention. Once we do that, we stand on that base and foster human moments. As we wrap ourselves in that active attention and human connection, we begin the process of expecting natural transformation. Let's go a little bit more into those. So we're starting with active attention. Biggest thing, reducing distractions. How do we keep people attentive to the meetings, the fellowship, the presentations that we are doing? The mute button is one big way. A lot of us are very familiar with it, but know that it's important to look at all of the different ways that you can mute and unmute your participants. Decide how you're going to handle it. Will you mute and unmute them? Will they mute and unmute themselves? How do you talk about the mute and unmute button at the beginning of a meeting? For example, at the beginning of Wellspring Wednesday, I will mention we mute ourselves when we are not talking for two reasons. One, so that everyone's attention is on the speaker, and for two, it reduces the bandwidth of the meeting because multiple audio streams make it a little bit harder for the Wi-Fi to run well. So for multiple reasons, muting ourselves during meetings when we're not presenting or talking help the meeting run better for everybody. Next up is cell phone and computers. Will you decide whether or not you'd like the people attending your programs, meetings, or functions to mute their cell phones? Will you mention it out loud? Will you mention it in an email? Will you not mention it at all because it's not something you believe in? All of those answers might be the right answer for you, but it's worth thinking about before programs start. With our computers, reducing distractions means encouraging people to enter the full screen. That makes it a little bit harder to see all of our emails coming in, all of the background notifications. The full screen button is in the upper right. Chat function boundaries. So what will your meetings be like? Do you want people to use the chat box a lot? Do you only want them to use it for specific opportunities or icebreakers? Do you not want them to use it at all because you don't want those notifications coming in and people really shouldn't be giving feedback during a specific piece of your meeting? It's a good idea to both decide what you want your chat function boundaries to be, and then also see if you need any further technical pieces. In the lower right-hand corner, that arrow right there will let you open the chat function menu. What comes up is participants can chat with no one, host only, everyone publicly and privately. It's important to note that if you're going to turn the chat off, you should let people know. And if you really want them to use it, if you want people to non-verbally interact with you through the chat function, encourage them. Say it out loud. Mention it more than once. Speaker view versus gallery view. If we're hoping that people are really cluing in to and listening to one single person, we might want to encourage them to switch from gallery view, which this picture is in, to speaker view. Note that when people are in gallery view, the button says speaker view, so they will click to switch to speaker view. When they are in speaker view, the button says gallery view. This button floats around a lot. It's in a different place on cell phones. It's in a different place on iPads. We will have more resources on cell phones and iPads coming in your email sometime soon. So as we stand on the platform of active attention, we work towards fostering human moments. What is a human moment? Authentic communication, face-to-face or virtually, that honors our true humanness and makes the parties involved feel connected and understood. I'd say that other people will be in agreement in that this is really what we're trying to do a lot of the time. Face-to-face or virtually, church is hugely into human moments. How do we foster human moments online? One way is making sure everyone is renamed. As we use the registration more and more, people may not know how to rename themselves. It's important that we know who they are and what they want to be called. You have one option to rename people yourselves from the participants window. You can also help people find the rename button underneath their own little video window on the screen. There's also the option to hide self-view. In an effort to encourage people to use video, if they hide their self-view, they don't even have to look at themselves. I think some of the feedback that we get is people are like, I just don't look good on camera. I just don't want to see myself. They don't have to see themselves, but they could still be on video for others. Know that this is a little bit of a gray area because some people just don't want to be on video. How do we honor and acknowledge that? Some people might not have a video camera. How do we honor and acknowledge that? While still making the process of virtual human moments happen by having at least some people on video. The hide self button is underneath the rename button in that panel that we click the blue 3 dots button. Another way to foster human moments is social time. You can email everyone in your group meeting or presentation and let them know that you will be 15 minutes early. And if they'd like to come and chat, if they'd like to come and talk about their life, that you are holding that space for chatting. It's worth stating that if you're showing up 15 minutes early to your own meeting and other people are coming in, unless you are practicing something, it's a pretty good idea to not just let that be dead space, that people are kind of staring off into the corner or turning their video off because they're like, okay, this is awkward, no one's saying anything. Can you plan in for yourself some questions to ask to other people to start that conversation? Or can you allow someone else to hold that social time? Icebreakers are great for fostering human moments. We have lots of written information on icebreakers for Zoom. There will also be some icebreakers shown at staff meetings. Two big things for us as staff members in fostering human moments: energy level and vocal volume. We set the tone energy-wise for a meeting. So notice when your own energy level is sinking. Notice how that might impact how others are responding in a group. If you're really looking for people to interact with you, can you get a little bit more excited about your topic to inspire energy in other people? Vocal volume is important. We know that it is wonderful that people's hearing aids can connect to their computers. It's wonderful that people can adjust their volume at home. But if we are in general not speaking loud enough, there won't be much they can do in turning up their speakers. So make sure that you are setting the stage for speaking clearly and maybe just a little bit louder than normal, so that that microphone can pick you up really nicely and people can hear your beautiful voice. Expecting natural transformation. I'm going to jump here to that third point. We talk about being a people of faith, not just a person of faith, because for us, spirituality is not a solo journey. Part of this process of being together, of working together within, among, and beyond, is allowing natural transformation to happen. So instead of expecting that Zoom is not going to be as good, instead of expecting that virtual church is just okay, I don't really like it and I don't want to be there, we expect that the natural transformation that can happen in person can and really will happen by Zoom. So don't gossip about Zoom behind Zoom's back. So rude. We are not asking you to lie. We're not asking you to be the biggest cheerleader of Zoom ever. But notice how your words can set the tone and energy for your meeting. When that tone and energy is complaining about the tool itself that is allowing us to be in community with one another, are we choosing to hold our own grief about virtual church as the primary thing instead of really creating space for others to meet virtually? The process of working virtually asks for our attention. What's happening? What are we doing? What are we planning? How are we going to effectively communicate what we want? It asks for our reflection. It asks us to think after our meetings happened on what we did and then what happened. And above and beyond, a lot of this expecting natural transformation is about trust. We need to trust that people are in charge of their own journey, that we don't need to be in control of every piece. We need to trust that people are going to be okay with some technical difficulty. We need to trust that all of the wonderful things that happen at Unity Church when we come together through the doors can and will happen online as well. Throughout this year, we will have continued Zoom support and training. There will be Zoom office hours. I'm still deciding when that hour will be, but I will let you know. There are Zoom YouTube tutorials. There will be staff tutorials. There will be congregant leader tutorials. There'll be some in-person virtual training / support, meaning we're going to gather groups of people to talk about what's going on, to reflect, and to group problem solve. And then direct email. So that is more Zoom support. If people are having issues, absolutely forward them on to me. Even if they don't ask for it, if you find that someone has completely dropped out of your meeting randomly in the middle, you can reach out to them, but you can also have me reach out to them directly to make sure that they've got all the tools that they need to succeed. That's what I have for you today, folks. Thanks for hanging in there for a little bit longer presentation.